Hello, and welcome to Legal Bites. If you're new here, my name is Alita. I'm a lawyer licensed in California and DC, and on this channel, we explain the law one bite at a time. We don't give legal advice, but we do talk about how the law works and try to look into our crystal ball to see how things might turn out. If you're enjoying this on YouTube, we'd love it if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with friends, all the great YouTube-y stuff. And if you want to listen while out and about, we're now offering our live streams in podcast form where you can leave a rating and review. Links are in the description below, as well as to our clips channel where you can find some of the best clips taken from our live streams. Otherwise, if you want to catch me elsewhere, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so on Locals, Patreon, or by becoming a YouTube member, or by buying some really awesome Legal Bites merch. Again, all links are in the description below. And with that said, let's get into it.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? This is a different time slot. I usually do these on Thursdays at noon. But yesterday,
I'm going to think for the rest of the day, it's Thursday.
What's that?
I'm going to think for the rest of the day, it's Thursday.
Well, sorry, it's not. Happy Friday. I didn't do this yesterday. It's because I was traveling. I was in a flying chair for most of the day. Actually, basically all of the day. I don't even technically know exactly what day it started, America time, but anyhow, yeah. So we are here now. I still wanted to have latest in the law. I've got some interesting stuff to talk about this week, as often is the case. And
yeah, you don't phone it in here. There's always cool stuff.
Yeah. Usually the case that we have some interesting stuff to talk about. So welcome, Mark from Attractive Nuisance.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
And of course, welcome Rick from Hogue Law from Virtual Legality.
It's like I never left. I did miss the intro song though. So that was nice to hear again. And YouTube stuff, all the YouTube stuff.
All the YouTube.
You had me say that once in Hangouts because I've heard it so much from you. It sounds wrong coming from me. It sounds wrong.
All the great YouTube stuff. One time I saw somebody in the comments one time say, "You can't say that because Emily D. Baker says that."
Does she?
I don't know. I guess so. I love Emily. She's wonderful. But she's also not the only one that says that.
Using YouTube as an adjective?
YouTube-y.
All right.
Yeah. So it's
good luck trademarking that one, Emily. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, well, I don't
think that's her. She's not the one that claimed it.
I know. Well, okay.
Someone on her behalf.
See, I feel like I'm in a constant Cold War with the robotic enemy. So YouTube just sounds a little bit too friendly out of my mouth.
Yeah, that's fair. We did name our Roomba in our house. It's named Roomy. And that is something that that we constantly fight over of like, how much are we trusting this iRobot device? It's not our friend. It's never.
And that sounds like a movie script. How can a Roomba kill you? I want 5 creative ideas on my desk by Monday.
Have you seen one of the X-Files episodes? When X-Files did their second reboot season, which was good. The first one was very bad. But they had an episode in their second reboot season about kind of like, the Roomba killing you, basically.
I have not seen a Roomba murder scene, so maybe I'll check that out.
Am I getting called out already? We talked about this backstage.
I know.
When you thought that you explained yourself to the people, and you did not.
No, I didn't even realize we weren't on air. Singing fan, thank you for the question. A lot of people have been asking me this, and I have an update. I first thank you everyone for being extremely patient with my first video between bar study, work, parenting. We got a new dog too. There's just a lot of stuff. So kind of jumping into the YouTube and learning everything about it has taken a little longer than I wanted. But the update is I have finished the script. It's drafted and all finalized on my video. I'm going to be shooting it this weekend and it will be out next week. So it is going to be actually on the Top Gun issue that we will probably come up later. But I'm really pumped about it. It's really weird inside baseball Hollywood drama over the course of like 60 years. So I hope y'all like it.
What a tease. That's great. And I was getting my Danger Zone puns ready, but you nailed it. All good.
Sloan. Yes. So that is a perfect segue into our first topic, because of course, just as a little roadmap for everybody, we're going to talk about the Top Gun Maverick copyright lawsuit. We're going to talk about Simone Biles and all the other gymnasts against the FBI for the whole Larry Nassar thing, and then Brad Pitt v. Angelina Jolie. They are still getting divorced since 2016. This is another case that's like it's started in 2016 and it's still going on. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Who knew that when you have a lot of assets to fight over that that it can take a little while?
Yeah. Love, Death, and Robots.
Oh yeah, that's right. Good call, Paul.
Interesting.
It was too dark and weird for me. I tried that series, but if there's a Roomba murder, I'll check it out. I'm going to need some more, information here. I don't want to watch the whole series. I want to see the Roomba murder.
Oh, and Fish Sauce, thanks so much for the super sticker. Very generous of you. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. Okay, so let's talk about Top Gun Maverick. Let's do it. And actually, we'll do one more super chat first right here. Andy the Game Maker. What do you do with an elephant with 3 balls? Walk him and pitch to the rhino. Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Hot Shots is a great reference at any time right now, because basically we all know Top Gun Maverick basically just took its whole plot line from Hot Shots, which is fine because Hot Shots is great. So it works.
It is good. It is very good. Yes, let's talk about Top Gun Maverick. So for anybody that is not aware, there is a lawsuit that was filed by the heirs to the author who wrote an article in a magazine called Top Guns. Yep. They said that they claim that they own copyright. They own the rights to the story essentially, and all of the what's the word? Derivative. Thank you. The derivative works that follow from it, and so therefore they had a license with Paramount before for Top Gun, and then now at this point they did have a license for this one as well, but that it expired because you can, after 35 years, you can terminate the license. And so they decided to do it. Now, the timing of it is very interesting because this movie was supposed to originally come out in 2019. And then because of certain delays in filming and producing, it was going to come out in December 2020. And then
summer 2021. There were like 4 delays. So it's the summer of 2020. Then it's late 2020. Then it's the summer of 21. Then it's late 21. Then it's May 22.
Okay. But basically, there were several opportunities that they could have before the expiration or before their ability to terminate this license in January 2021.
2020. So
it was 2020. I thought it was
so the timing gets real weird here, right? Okay. So they write it up. Well, they write it up over a long period of time, and then there's all sorts of stuff. Tony Scott, there's all sorts of problems. You roll into 2017, you've got Joseph Kosinski writing it up, preparing to direct. They film in 2018 and 2019. They get a notice in 2018 that by statute has to have a 2-year warning on it, that they're going to have their license to the magazine article revoked in January of 2020. So they know this, right? Paramount understands this for 2 years, starting in 2018. And then 2019, they say, you know what? Some issues with the special effects. Like, that's all we really heard, is that they want to do some more post-production, want some more fighter planes, want a bigger mountain. Who knows what they wanted? But they wanted to clean it up a little bit. And then that's when you start getting into timing issues, because then they have a summer 2020, but they know they have a piece of paper on their desk that says these guys are pulling their license in January of 2020. So there's all sorts of stuff with the timing that I'm sure you're going to get into more, but like, they after that 2019 window passes, they were never going to release this thing before January of 2020.
Yeah. So actually, with regard to the dates and times and stuff, I actually wasn't planning on focusing so much on that, but I do have a link to the actual article.
Nice.
That was the original article, which
about Yogi.
Yeah, about Yogi. Yeah.
About Top Guns. Let's see here.
What was the goose character called?
Oh,
it was
God,
something also like equally as not cool. As
it is. It's
whatever.
Yogi and Paws or something
like possum or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can read it here. Top Guns by Ehud Yonah.
Possum.
May 1983.
You did. You nailed it. Yogi and Possum.
Yep. Yogi and Possum have a theory about hops, that is, air combat maneuvers. The good ones always start out good, Yogi says. So the only thing to do is ride them through and try not to screw up. They're holding this thought as they blast off the oil-stained strip in their F-14 Tomcat and head out to hassle bogies, enemy planes, off the coast of Ensenada. The pre-flight brief was short and to the point. The plane was ready, the takeoff smooth. A great beginning for a great hop. Even the weather was great, and they're floating in their glass bubble through a regulation Southern California blue-on-blue crystal morning. Clear skies over clear sea, with white curls of foam swirling around La Jolla below. They float past Mission Bay in North Island. Then Possum calls out a new heading, and Yogi hangs left, and they're making straight for today's action. Anyhow.
I haven't looked at this. This is great picking this up, Alita. He wrote it like I don't know. It's like a noir mystery novel.
Which is actually factually important, right, Hogue?
Right. Well, they're going to bring it up. They're going to say he was so evocative and imaginative that Paramount had no choice but to license it and make a movie out of his evocation. Otherwise, this is boring as hell.
Right. They didn't make a movie out of the facts. They didn't make a movie out of the
definitely not
facts.
About the facts, because that would be important, right?
Yeah, they made a movie about this awesome description. Look how much writing I did. You know?
Yeah.
It's gonna work because Hollywood can't survive otherwise. But
because the reason why it can't be because of the facts, just so everybody knows, is because can't copyright facts. So if they are claiming copyright off of this article, it's got to be something other than the non-fiction elements here that he is describing these individuals that are actually, because this is not fiction. This is an actual article about these guys flying over to shoot off bogeys from Ensenada.
And you can barely tell. And you're right, Mark. That's part of the story. It's written like a short story. It's written like it's being submitted to, I don't know, the New Yorker or something as a fictional prose. And yeah, that's what Paramount. One of Paramount's arguments is going to be, if it ever came to it, we didn't even need the license.
Yes.
We were over lawyering in the early 80s. We made a freaking fighter pilot movie. As you can tell, folks, Top Gun doesn't have a plot at all. It has some volleyball. It has some singing in some bars. It has some pretty rad fighting scenes. It doesn't have a story.
Yeah, and I don't see any volleyball in this short story. Volleyball? That's all created. We made that.
Nobody says you're dangerous. Yeah, right. Nobody smiles at you like Val Kilmer. No, so I mean, like that's part of the argument.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want me to keep reading a little bit more?
It's up to you. These guys are clearly litigation friendly. I don't know.
I'll do just a little bit more.
Sure. Aaliyah, is this taking you back, by the way? This whole, like, you know, this part of the world, this kind of like over the bay, you know?
It is actually. I mean, and especially since like I just landed in Southern California again, I'm like, man, like I want to go back to La Jolla. Like that's where I went to school. I remember seeing the jets flying overhead and being like, yeah, Top Gun.
It was, I'm not gonna lie, it was actually kind of taking me back too. Yeah,
I'm like, funny part to me, Midwestern through and through, is I was watching Top Gun with my wife this past week, and I said, see California, it's constantly sunsets, it's always gorgeous. Water lapping over things. We're riding on motorcycles. To the Midwestern audience, because so many of these things are filmed in Los Angeles or San Diego or around various parts of California, it's like a fantasy setting. It's like Tatooine to us, right? Like, so I was telling her, I'm like, because she's from Southern California. I'm sorry, in order to make this story work a little bit, make more sense. I'm not just randomly saying this to my wife. I'm saying, look, Top Gun presents it as if it is this glorious place of adventure, magic, and mystery. And we're constantly rolling up in our motorcycles to these delightful beachfront properties that how in the world did Kelly McGinnis afford? I don't know, but it looks gorgeous in the movie. And that's what Top Gun kind of represents, is kind of adventure and awesomeness.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, but for me, it brings me back to my college days of just being in the area and oh man, every time I would hear the jets overhead, I would be like, America, yes.
Hell, is that how you watched Maverick? Was that just constantly coming?
Yes.
From your seat while you watched Maverick?
Especially because we were overseas when we watched it too. Okay. So I mean, there were times when we were like almost getting out of our seats, like
and like and even if for non-Californians, also even if you live in like downtown LA, you get a lot of those seaplanes and like Navy planes and kind of over. You could be straight around like Century City buildings. You're going to get like some of that crazy plane activity that makes you think you're at the base.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep, for sure. And also, okay, yeah. So let me do just a little bit more from this because it is very evocative. Okay, once over the Mexican border, they picked up speed, and Yogi starts jinking. He whips the stick, the steering mechanism between his legs from side to side, and the plane rolls this way and that, letting him and Possum spot anybody making for their tail. From where they sit, however, it's not their silver rocket that's rocking, but the entire vast blue dome of sea and sky. There are no ups or downs up here, no rights or lefts, just a barely perceptible line separating one blue from another, and that line is spinning and racing like mad in the distance. Yogi was still in junior high when he realized that flying straight and level may be okay for some people, but if you like yanking and banking, the feeling of riding inside one of those storm in a bottle souvenirs, then there's just one place for you, and that's the cockpit of a fighter plane.
I have to say, it's a very specific way to write this story, isn't it?
Who doesn't love yanking and banking?
I guess so. Yeah.
I had a similar thought. Yes. So it really is. I joke about it when I covered this lawsuit on my channel, because you have to go and you have to be certainly a zealous advocate when you write these complaint documents. And so you get into this section and it's like, no one would ever have been interested in this if our father/husband didn't write it in the way that they did. So I do like actually getting to see it in real life here.
Yeah. So basically, that's the underlying article that they say, inspired the movie Top Gun. And it probably is true that you probably had some film execs that were like, this looks awesome. I want to make a movie about it. It's going to be all about America. They're going to be sweating all the time. There's going to be a weird lighting on bald people's heads, and then we'll have a beach volleyball scene. It's going to be all about, getting rid of bogeys. And then
you're playing with the boys.
Exactly.
Of course you are. Absolutely.
Exactly. So anyhow, but yeah, no, for sure. But the question is there potential copyright infringement here? And you kind of have to go back a couple levels, right? Because we're talking about a license that did exist for Top Gun. Do we think that license was even necessary in the first place? Because Paramount will argue that it was not.
Mm-hmm. We know that because they claim in their complaint that they got a letter that said, screw you. We didn't need the license anyway. Also, our movie was done. Like, that's their primary two defenses here. It's interesting. I went back to the movie and the reference to Top Guns is suggested by. So even then, the lawyers are trying to couch a little bit back in 1986. Been like, inspired by a little strong. Yeah. We read an article once and we're like, there are planes? What if we made a movie?
I didn't know we had planes down in San Diego.
This aircraft carrier? How does that work?
Yeah.
I think, and it's interesting because the claim itself, if you look at it in the abstract, I think that someone who's not necessarily in the industry, in the specific industry would read these as favorable, maybe to Paramount. Maybe they didn't need the license, and it's totally possible. The time I served doing LA law, one of the problems that you're going to have in a court like this, court's going to look at it. A lot of LA economy comes from this. The idea of creative imagination and creating a fictional world that is inspired by reality. And there's a lot of weight accorded to that. And there should be that inspires people to keep creating. That is where they make their money. And so you're probably going to see the thumb on the scale for against Paramount in this instance of saying that they didn't need the license at all. It's possible not, but this is something that just when people are analyzing the facts, I want them to kind of think about the situation and where the jurisdiction, where this is going to occur, that's definitely going to be something that is going to be in the minds of the judge.
Yeah, for sure. For my part, looking at it, it looks like basically the things that are similar between the article and the movies are facts, which is not copyrightable. And then other stuff that they say that they allege are a bit more vague, like the true grit, American style, and patriotism pervade the story. That's what they allege in the complaint. That's not something that they can really copyright.
It's the feel of the thing.
Yeah.
Could you not see Top Gun when you read those paragraphs? I will be honest, I could.
Yeah.
As compared to other military things, I mean, that was written like Top Gun. So there's a fruit of the tree there. I tend to agree with you, Alita, that like if we're in a complete vacuum, I'm not positive that Paramount needs that story. But I am also a little bit, even though I explained it on my channel, I said, well, lawyers are risk averse, so you can go get licenses that you don't need to try to quash other things happening in the future. There is a certain amount of folks, especially intuitively, that say, I'm sorry, have you been paying these people royalties or otherwise went to acquire this license and you're a big multinational corporation and you didn't need it?
Yeah.
And now that it's terminated, you know what? That was out of the goodness of Paramount's hearts. Really?
For 40 years or 37 years, we were just paying these people for something we didn't need to.
We didn't need to. And so I am at least intuitively kind of responsive to that argument that says Big Bad Media Corporation was paying extra.
Yeah. That's also a good point. And one of the things that I was reading about it was that, also oftentimes when one production company decides that they want to buy the rights to a particular story, or they want to make a film about a particular topic, oftentimes they'll buy a license to those rights just to scare off other production companies.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
That they'll just say
100%.
like, hey, like Scram, we've got this one. You can't take it from us.
We're making Top Gun.
You want to know the crazy thing? Sometimes if they're having trouble procuring the rights to the actual thing they want, but they know that it's hot, what you'll see is they'll obviously, and like in the trades, procure rights to something else that is similar, even if it's not the thing, because they want to broadcast to the industry that like this, we're going to make that movie. If you get the rights to this thing that you actually want, we're going to make this other one quicker and put it out first and totally screw you.
It's like when you had Armageddon and Deep Impact at like the same time. That they're like exactly the same thing, like a huge rock coming to kill everyone on Earth.
you know how that happens, right? That's like a pretty famous way, like Shark Tale or Shark Tale and Finding Nemo, was it? And then A Bug's Life and Ants, all of those sort of things. They released 2 Truman Capote films in the same year, right?
Huh.
The way that happens is you have a script. The studio has a script that they just bought it. It's sitting there forever. And then all of a sudden they hear that another studio has put into development like Capote film. And they're like, oh shit, if we don't make our Capote film now and put it out before them, we'll never be able to make it. So just greenlight it, get it going. And you can usually tell which one was quick greenlit and which one was actually greenlit.
the real one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's what I had heard, was that it's when you get this circulation of scripts and then enough people are like, no, I really want that, but I don't know that I want this particular deal, or somebody else just snatches it up before they have a chance or whatever. But it's so interesting. And then all of a sudden we have like 5 zombie movies in 1 year.
We never have a lack of zombie movies coming out of Hollywood.
Also true.
So yes, I'm over zombies a little bit.
I thought I was over zombies, and then like Train to Busan came out, and I was like, "Oh, okay, Train to Busan
is good."
Like,
it's a good hallmark. No, it's like, gaming side of the thing. We just got a big, mic drop for The Last of Us Part 1 again, and I'm like, 3 versions of The Last of Us in 9 years, maybe a bit much.
Don't let Mr. Bites hear you say that.
The Last of Us Part 1. I know he loves Part 2, but this is
he
just
loves
part 1
1
again.
He loves it. He's so excited to see the remastered version of it.
All right, I'll talk to Mr. Bites at some point. Maybe he can bring the optimism and light back into my life on this.
Yes, he will happily do so. But yeah, it's crazy. So okay. So what are your guys' thoughts on the viability of this copyright claim against Paramount?
Well, I mean, the one thing I'll say is, as pled, everything seems to line up for a legal termination of the copyright to the story. It seems to line up for the windows. It seems to line up for exactly how the notice should be given. And there's no reason to believe that this lawyer would have screwed up on that. So to the extent that Paramount had a license to this story, it would appear that they do not anymore. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think that's an important piece of the puzzle. That's actually what I focused on my side, because it's such a weird bit of law that comes in and says, no matter what you contracted for, it can just go away at the 35-year mark. So I think that's effective. I don't think Paramount has the right to Top Guns anymore right now as we speak. So I think we're looking at a settlement. I mean, that's the easiest thing in the world to say. Well, they're making a ton of money. They don't want to not make a ton of money. Yeah. Something less than a ton of money will probably make these people go away. And they have a massive success that could be a franchise. I mean, Maverick, I don't think we should undersell how massive, and at least to me, a little bit unexpected success this film is.
Yeah.
That you could easily be looking at, hell, even a Miles Teller-led franchise going forward, and Paramount's got dollar signs in their eyes, which is why, as a lawyer, it's like, oh, you dropped it on him on the second weekend after a ridiculously good hold. Oh, that's good lawyering, man.
Yeah.
So I see a settlement. I see them getting paid some money, probably a not insubstantial amount of money, and I see Paramount re-upping the license, and somebody inside Paramount having a conversation about why we didn't re-up the license when we didn't know whether it would be a trash fire or not 2 years ago. But Mark might know better than I have not walked the halls of LA law.
I have not made the video. By the way, if anyone who is interested in this has not checked out Virtual Legality's video on Top Gun, definitely do so. It is wonderful. It'll catch you up on this very well.
Yes.
But the one thing, Hogue and I have kind of been talking offline. Hogue does an incredible analysis of the actual pleadings, facts on the ground, statutory language. But that's one of the things one of the things that's really interesting to me is, as an entertainment lawyer in LA, or previously in LA, there's a lot more behind this, which is a lot of fun, which, spoiler alert, that's actually what my video is on.
We're going to make it a double get into it. We're going to figure out how to package them together. It'll be great.
Yeah. Well, the big thing is this. So you're talking about the smart lawyering, and you don't think this guy would have messed up. That is 100% true, because this lawyer, Mark Toberoff, is literally the most famous attorney in LA, and he made an entire 2-decade career, suing on terminations. He literally made them fashionable. He is the one who brought it into, well, I talk in my video about the forefather of that, but Mark Toberoff, kind of by himself, he was named in 2010. He was named one of the seven most powerful people in LA. Which the other people on that list were like the CEO of Comcast, Christopher Nolan, and like James Cameron, right? Like, and he had a staff of 3 at the time. He was just a dude suing other dudes. But his whole shtick is, this termination provision in the various Copyrights Act is very clear. It is after 35 years or after X amount of time, if the heirs to this assignment basically say, I don't want it anymore, then after a certain amount of time, they get the rights back. And it might seem like you didn't have the power to do it, but Mark Toberoff was like, I can get you there,
Wow.
And he's done it time and time again. We're talking suits against Get Smart, Dukes of Hazzard. In fact, he got $18 million by trying to delay the Dukes of Hazzard theatrical release, which was kind of awesome. He's done it for comic books. If you've ever heard about the Superman lawsuit, he's been doing the Superman lawsuit for almost 20 years now.
Did he also represent Stan Lee's heirs? Because that was also an issue recently with Spider-Man and Iron Man and those.
Yes,
that was him.
And he represents Ditko's heirs, and so he's been doing. This is like all him, and so it's really interesting. This is what my video will be on, is not exactly this lawsuit, but about kind of Mark Toberoff. And
awesome.
The other attorney. Does anyone know the other attorney who is with Mark Toberoff on this complaint?
Alex Kaczynski.
Boom!
I'm looking at the filing right now.
She's cheating, but it's still a good drop.
Alex Kaczynski. This is insane. If you are from Southern California, Alex Kaczynski was the former chief judge of the Ninth Circuit, one of the most famous Ninth Circuit judges, one of the most famous judges in the country. Alita, you want to jump in?
He wrote one of my favorite opinions was the Barbie Girl lawsuit.
Oh yeah, yes he did. Yep.
Which actually, although, I mean, the reason why he's no longer a judge is because of the Me Too movement. A little bit of disgrace there, but
for further proof
did
that
some dirty things while wearing his robes back in chambers. Apparently, well, that was alleged. We don't know.
Is important and
is
true.
important. Yes,
and
Yes, I have no independent information. Those are the circumstances.
Thank God.
Around which around which he stepped down from that role. But yeah.
So
in case you guys want proof, here it is. Here's the filing. Alex Kaczynski.
It's insane. And Alex kind of, if we want further evidence that like canceling isn't exactly what we say canceling is, like it has not been a long time, and Kaczynski is just kind of like out and proud or whatever, like practicing in the same area. It's probably some of his former clerks work at the places that are currently being sued.
Like, yeah, look at that bar number. It's 120,000 clear.
I was just gonna say he's a 5-digit bar number in California. That is saying something. Anytime you find one of those, it's a rare find.
Yeah. So that is, it blew my mind when I saw that Kaczynski is just like signing his name, because it's very easy for him to not sign his name to this complaint. He could be working and helping and like just not make this filing. But say la vie.
There you go.
Yeah. But that's correct. It's funny. I read this. I looked at this. I didn't even notice who it was that was on there until you pointed this out, Mark. I'm so glad that I had you on here.
You know what I love about this complaint? I said this the other day, is it's 15 pages. It is svelte. It is to the point. It is well written. It is efficient. And I'm so sick of going through 80-page complaints with like random asides off into editorial land. This is a well-written complaint that explains what it's about and gets you to the end and in time for your golf outing, Your Honor. And it's really well done.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is actually a fun read. If people are interested in entertainment law or this sort of IP copyright disputes and how it works in Hollywood land or whatever, this is a great example of a complaint to read, because it's efficient. This person knows what they're doing.
Look at those Joe's 1 to 10. One of those might be Tom Cruise. You never know.
His protege famously won a Supreme Court case in what was called the Rear Window case, and he sued both MCA, Alfred Hitchcock, and Jimmy Stewart, and won. So like,
did he have an executive producer credit? Is that how that went down?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Drag in the celebrity executive producers.
Yeah.
You want the title? You're coming in as a doe.
So we all know that this is Tom Cruise's fault, right?
So you have asserted. I've already heard this, but yes.
I mean, Alita, we know this is Tom Cruise's fault. This lawsuit right here.
I don't. Okay, based a little bit off of our conversation backstage beforehand, I've got a little bit of a hint. But why don't you go ahead and illuminate everyone?
Okay, I'll be as lean as I can.
For the record, Tom Cruise and everybody affiliated with Tom Cruise, your production company and other officials, this is not an allegation of wrongdoing. This is the mere supposition that is intended for entertainment and educational value. Mark, go right ahead.
I'm not saying he's legally at fault. I'm not saying any sort of proximate cause would put him actually within the realm of liability. But so 2016 is when they finally decide to like greenlight go into actual development with Top Gun Maverick, right? There's a lot of stuff before they're talking about it, they're figuring out. 2016, they kind of go in earnest and start doing it. Probably that's when Tom Cruise said like, yeah, I'll do it, basically. So that starts going. Fine. They're going to come out. They're going to come out 2019. Okay, coolio. They get this notice in 2018 from the heirs of the article holder saying, hey, in 2 years, we're terminating this and it's coming back to us. Okay. So in 2020, January 2020, it's going. So now they're like, well, we were going to release it in 2019 anyway. Or they had looked at that time window, because most studios are aware of what Toborov does, that they were purposely going to release it in 2019 and hit that target deadline. So they never had to worry about Toborov coming in and screwing everything up. Okay. So then they're shooting. And then bam. We have some stunt issues, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there is an extremely incredible stunt in the film. Basically, if you haven't seen it yet, Tom Cruise flies a jet at 600 miles an hour, 50 feet above the water, which is like ridiculous. And the cam is like, it's Tom Cruise doing this, because Tom Cruise does his own stunts.
His own stunts, as always.
So I don't know if this stunt, we don't actually know exactly the reason for the delay, but it seems the more Kaczynski talked, the more the studio talked, they wanted more time to be able to craft these stunts, which, read between the lines, Tom's insisting on doing his own stunts. We don't want to murder the last movie star in existence. So let's take some extra time and get it done.
Yeah.
Okay. So fine, fair. They're like, you know what? If the picture's locked before 2020 and we release it in 2020, maybe we'll still be okay, right? Because right. So
that thinking makes sense, right? Because one thing we haven't mentioned is that it's a really weird termination that doesn't terminate like every right you've ever had. It terminates things going forward. Unlike if you have an actual license terminated where you just lose the rights and you can no longer distribute Top Gun and everybody loses volleyball and playing with the boys and everyone's sad, including Berlin. And instead, this one goes forward and says, when we terminate, you get the rights to everything you've made before the termination. So 1986 isn't at risk. And if Maverick's locked by January 24th, 2020, it's not at risk. But, sorry, just wanted to jump in there.
No. So, but we all know what happened, right? What happened next is COVID.
Yep.
And so now Paramount is kind of scrambling, going, okay, clearly, as you said so evocatively, there's this letter on our desk. And the more we wait, the more that this is going to be an issue. Let's release it to Paramount Plus. Let's release it to streaming. Not only is that good because it shows that the picture was locked, it presents evidence that it was done, but also in a real nefarious way, it limits damages because you don't know how much the movie has made. Because streaming obscures the ticket receipts. You don't have that sort of one-to-one how much the movie is made. If you release it to streaming, now all of a sudden, even if they do lose an eventual court case, how much money are they going to get? You don't know.
And that's the Black Widow lawsuit. I mean, like that's the genesis of that fight.
Yep.
Exactly. So they're trying this, and then who shows up again? Mr. I go to every movie that's in the theaters disguised because I love movies so much, Tom Cruise, who will not let Paramount release Top Gun Maverick to streaming.
This is exactly right. He pitches a fit in public because they announce it's coming to Paramount Plus. In fact, they probably walked into, if somebody were so inclined, a class action fraud complaint about them telling you it's coming to Paramount Plus and selling yearly subscriptions last year. I mean, like that's in the ether. I don't think anybody bothered to do that, but that could happen. Tom Cruise comes out and says, no, screw you. What does he say? It's like, this was intended for the big screen and it will only be seen on the big screen. It's like, all right.
I love them. And so because of this, now Paramount is stuck because they can't ruin relationships with literally the last movie star. I know that's a silly thing to say, but like he is the last person that when his name is on the bill, you will hit X amount in ticket receipts. That is just like, he is the last person to do that. Brad Pitt's close. Not really. Like,
after Uncharted, I'm thinking Tom Holland might have a crack. Maybe he's named Tom. I don't know.
And good, I would love to see him develop into that. But at this point, like Tom, because Leo has done the same thing, but with art house films, like it's not the same as like Tom Cruise film. So they listen to him and they keep delaying until finally like the COVID thing looks like we can actually release it into theaters. But the problem
people are
with
behaving that way, however you feel about it, the box office is in existence now.
Right. The problem with this now is they did some changes and they did some tweaks because they're like, oh, we have some more time now to actually lock the picture and not like, and so now they're in bad territory. They're in bad territory that they are, not gonna lie, kind of clearly in breach. And one of the aspects of this lawsuit, one of the relief they ask for is injunctive relief.
Yep.
Which
emergency injunction relief. They ask for pending action. They ask for pull it now, Your Honor.
So it's possible. It's very unlikely. But what they're asking for is they're saying, pull this from theaters. The film that is the biggest surprise release of 2022 that has the highest holdover from week 1 to week 2 in like ever.
Anything making more than $100 million. It's the biggest percentage hold ever.
And they're threatening to pull it. And they have legal standing to like make a non-frivolous claim to pull it. And like,
well, I think a judge sitting there goes, does money solve this? Money solves this, right? No, we're not pulling the movie.
Yeah. Go into chambers, right? Like, just like come into chambers. Let's talk. Let's just give me the number and we'll be gone. But
you don't want to pull the movie.
But
you're going to get paid off of its success.
But again, this is the reason that every single business affairs and legal affairs department knows Mark Tobarov's name, and anyone worth their salt, like, trusts it, just gives them the check beforehand. And it's ironic because Paramount tried their best to avoid it, but what they couldn't avoid was Tom Cruise, you know, and like
nobody can.
Nobody can. And so maybe they could not have foreseen both the combination of Tom Cruise and COVID, but like, too bad, so sad. That's why lawyers are risk averse and we make deals instead of going to court.
Yeah.
It's wild that they didn't make a deal. I mean, it literally is wild, right? Because, you know, you've got Sony flailing with Ghostbusters. You've got other reboot, remasters, whatever you want to call them, that didn't make money. You could at least go to these guys and say, all right, let's do something reasonable. We have no idea whether this is going to work. This is freaking 50 whatever age Tom Cruise in a fighter plane. We got Miles punch him in the face Teller from
Miles, who has no box office clout at all anymore.
You know, so you know what? You guys are right. Let's re-up this license because we're stupid for making it, right? We're the idiot studios. We'll give you a little bit of money, but man, we're dumb. And then do that before you have a freaking $550 million global tally. So it's wild. It is a wild story. You can see why Mark and I like this so much is because usually you get one of these. I saw the article and I'm like, this is going to be dumb. I'm going to look through it and it's going to be moronic because, you know, I did the Anna de Armas lawsuit about she was in the trailers and not in the movie. You're like, oh my God. But this one, I'm like, oh crap. They have a case against the biggest movie in the world.
Toborov's name means something still in this town. He might not be the top 7, you know, most powerful people in Hollywood anymore, but like, you know his name and you should. And I know who, actually, this is a little thing. So something that happens all the time in studios is they clean house, right? If you know this, that like top down, a new head of studio comes in and then they just fire everybody under them and bring in their own people. It's just how it works.
Change. Yeah.
It sucks, but like everyone knows it's the course of business. There was a big regime change at Paramount in 2017.
Okay.
It might have been early 2018, but like, but after Top Gun Maverick was greenlit and in development, but before they really had to deal with Toborov. And I can't help but think that the business affairs and legal department just were not on the same page about that strategy. And the new incoming person really wanted to like show their balls or whatever. Well, not in the Kaczynski way or whatever, but like show their, you know, like show their metal.
Alleged way.
Well, hold on. I'm going to clarify. It was not alleged that Kaczynski showed his balls. That was a joke. That has nothing to do with reality, or at least not direct correlation with reality. But like, he really wanted to prove to the new muscle that like, oh, he could do this. I could take on Toporov. Who is this guy? And now it's just like 4 years later or whatever, and it's just Facepalm City.
What's some millions of dollars between friends, right? So Alita, I do have to go and actually practice law. I wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, one, completely separate from the legal issue, Maverick is awesome.
It is awesome.
It is way, way, way beyond what I thought they were capable of doing with this franchise. And it's the first time that maybe I can think of where the reboot is better. Maybe Blade Runner 2049. But in terms of a popcorn fun movie, I cannot give Maverick any higher of a recommendation. It is a really good time at the movie theater. Hey, get there before it's pulled. Who knows? So I did want to say that.
Ironically, it might even make them more money if people are worried that it's going to get pulled. They're like, oh no, I need to go see it.
Some people texted me off of my video and said, oh my God, could it be gone? I'm getting my tickets. It's like, all right. No, it won't be gone. They'll make money. In fact, I actually think that depending on how Jurassic World winds up doing, they might pull some screens back. Because I would rather see Maverick on, the IMAX again than the dinosaurs. But I wanted to say that. Two, I want to say, I'm sure you'll say this at the end of your episode, but I'm very excited about doing charity stream with you tomorrow.
Yes.
So for folks who don't know, we're going to be doing a stream to help support the Los Angeles Children's Hospital. And we're very, very excited about it. We got some fun stuff planned. We got some fun conversations planned. Yeah. We're going to be hanging out together and
have all the people come back.
Randoms. Who knows who will be on this platform. I'm just sending out invites to random email addresses. It could be anybody. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm very, very excited about that. And I think that's it. I'm going to go practice some law. Thank you so much for inviting me on to talk about Top Gun. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, Mark, about this fun stuff. I'm excited about your first video. I'm going to be checking that out. Make sure you tell me when it's out. I'll retweet it. It'll be fantastic.
Yes.
And I'll see you all later being tomorrow. So thanks again for having me, Alita. Thanks, Mark.
See you, Rick.
Bye.
So, yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. This he didn't answer the super chat before he left. If he's aware of the Act Man situation, I'm gonna screenshot this, send it to him, and then maybe he'll be able to answer it tomorrow. Sorry, J-Watt.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, but I think I'm pretty sure it's a YouTube demonetization issue, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know myself, and that's not something I can speak to, but
okay.
It's your world.
Yeah. It is very much my world. Fish Sauce, thanks so much for the very generous super sticker. Fish Sauce, again, please forgive me. I'm so sorry. I'm a bad friend. No, what are you talking about? You're I don't even know what you're talking about. Thank you for your very generous super chat, Fish Sauce. Very, very kind of you. Andy the Game Maker says, Admiral Benson hotshots. My eyes are ceramic. Caught a bazooka round at Little Bighorn. Or was it Okinawa? The one without the Indians. Oh my goodness. Okay, cool. Thanks, Andy. That's Sarah. Says editing and sound weren't done until summer 2020. Variety article from 6/2 quotes editor Eddie Hamilton, who locked the picture back in July 2020, saying we spent 7 weeks mixing the sound. Wow. Okay.
And for the record, I think that is going to be the defining factor, right? Is whether it's done, and like what is the definition of done? It's not like the Copyright Act says what done means, but the understood term in the industry would be when it's picture locked, right? That's done. And you can unlock a picture. So there's arguments about, maybe you can see that. But the big thing is, when was picture locked? And Sarah, you are correct that it didn't look like picture was locked until the summer of 2020.
Wow.
That could have been because they knew delays. They were just going to roll the dice again. I don't know what was going on behind the scenes of Paramount at that time, but it doesn't look like the picture was done by the time that the rights would have terminated.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Hey, Alita, would you ever be a judge? Maybe. I don't know. I like educating on law instead, though. I really like my job right now, so maybe not.
Judges educate on law too, just after the fact.
Well, yes, that's true. I don't know. Maybe, possibly, if an opportunity arose at some point, but I don't know. I don't know if those opportunities for me will arise. Given that you usually require some sort of a pedigree before becoming a judge. I mean, you can run. They're also elected positions. I could run for judge.
And there's also smaller municipal positions that like if you want to do traffic court, if you want to start in traffic court, there's you could do that. I went in front of those I went in front of those Santa Monica traffic court judges. You could be in that seat.
Well, thanks. Thank you. But this job probably pays better than that. Anyhow. So, okay. Well, cool. So,
before we move on, Hoag's in the chat right now saying, yes, Paramount called it substantially completed as of January 2020. That can also be read as not quite done. Now, your first year contracts law will teach you what substantial performance could mean in a contract breach case, but good luck.
Yeah. Very good point. So, okay. Well, any last thoughts on Top Gun before we move on?
I could speak forever on it. You got a lot of stuff to cover, and I feel like I've hogged up this time.
Well, no. This was fantastic. So the next one is talking about Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. They've been in a divorce case since 2016. Like I mentioned before, they've still got some child custody issues that have been going on for this long. I mean, this is a messy divorce. It sucks because you want to see people that are like, if you're gonna separate, just separate and move on. It sucks to see these kinds of cases dragged out for like forever. But now they have a tangential lawsuit that was filed back in February by Brad Pitt against Angelina Jolie because they have this company that they co-owned together. It's basically a winery in France called Chateau Miraval, where he owned, I think originally he owned 60%, she owned 40%, but he's been the one allegedly that's been putting in all of the muscle into this whole business to try to make it profitable. Anyhow, he alleges that she improperly has sold her share to a company that is owned by a Russian oligarch. And I remember at the time that it came out in February that when he originally filed his complaint, he's since then filed an amended complaint. But in his complaint, the reporting around it seemed to be like, well, it's a Russian oligarch, and it seemed like the story behind that is the fact that there's the war in Ukraine, or the special mission that Russia's calling it, or what have you. Basically this conflict in Ukraine that's been going on, and that a lot of Russian oligarchs are now having their assets frozen and all of that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of public outcry against Russian oligarchs because they seem to be the ones that are holding all the money. But here it seems like his point is to say, well, number one, he says that they had an agreement that he would get first right of refusal, first opportunity to buy her shares out. And she did not do any of that.
And I'm sure, and for the record, surely that is in both of their contracts, right? That if they co-owned this thing together, they absolutely had a right of first refusal to selling to each other, right?
Based on the reporting that I've seen on it, though, I don't know that is actually the case, because it seems like what his claims are, and I'm gonna get the original complaint so that I can look at this directly. So I am relying on reporting, and we all know how accurate that can and cannot be. But the kinds of claims that he's alleging are things like implied contract, good faith and fair dealing.
Good faith and fair dealings. Oh no,
those are fine, fine causes of action for a contract claim, but they are not the strongest. The strongest claim is to say, here's the page and line number, here's the paragraph of the contract where it says I will be given the first right of refusal. But it sounds like to me what happened was, in the course of their divorce, they came to some sort of a side agreement in their divorce in negotiating other things, where he said, fine, you can get this house, but before you sell your shares in Chateau Miraval, I'm going to have the first right of refusal. And she probably said, fine, okay. And that was kind of more of an informal agreement. And that this is my read on this whole situation.
I like that theory. That theory is pulling me out of my head in my hands, just collapsing, because they would be able to get evidence of that negotiation in, and it's very possible that even if it wasn't written into this contract, it could be part of the side agreement and brought in. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm still not happy.
Right. In which case they probably have emails between the attorneys or something that confirm things in writing. Even though it's not a formalized contract, you can still show evidence of agreement in writing through emails that have gone back and forth.
And if we're going to talk about even if this is subject to statute of frauds, so it has to be in writing, and it's incorporated or whatever, you can still bring in oral evidence of an agreement to the contrary, as long as you just got witnesses there. So if it was during divorce negotiations, then the attorneys were there, and you could probably have someone testify to that agreement.
Yeah. But now he in his amended complaint, he has added the allegation that she purposefully did it to negatively impact his business standing, because there's a whole, like, the fact of this being sold to a Russian oligarch. I think maybe there's a worldwide kind of impact on associating with someone like that. That is a possibility, even if he doesn't have any personal thoughts on what's going on in Ukraine. It could be the fact that a lot of other people have thoughts on this person. But I think even more than that, though, there's this added complaint from Brad Pitt, saying that this is someone who is also known to be particularly aggressive in business, and that he thinks that Jolie purposefully sold her shares to this person so that they could essentially just like take over Brad Pitt's side eventually, and just buy out his shares and just make things as miserable as possible for him, so that they can end up just consuming it and adding it to their overall empire.
Yeah, I mean, it might sound outlandish on its face, but like, one of my thoughts of first hearing that Angelina Jolie sold to a Russian oligarch is like, that's not Angelina Jolie's thing. You know, she has always been kind of extremely in the international spotlight, doing these sort of progressive causes, doing these pro-humanitarian causes, doing these things to help the little people, even if she is or isn't actually helping. That is not what I'm suggesting, but like, that's absolutely
at
part
the
of
brand that she wants to promote.
That's her brand. So like her kind of selling her winery to a Russian oligarch out of nowhere, it does seem kind of vindictive, at least on its face, you know.
Yeah. So from this one article, I'm looking at Us Weekly. So take whatever grains of salt you want from me reading from Us Weekly. But yeah, it says here in quotes, it's very clear to him, Pitt, that Angie has gone out of her way to delay and stall the process. All he can do is work with his legal team and file the paperwork while responding to her claims. Month after month goes by with one piece of red tape after another, endless jumping through hoops and bickering between their lawyers with no resolution. So it sounds like this is part of the overall divorce case that has been going on, and that there are complaints from Brad Pitt's side, at least, that these are just more tactics to drag this out further.
And I'm like looking in the chat right now, and I'm getting not necessarily conflicting information, but a lot of like interesting information. You know, we'll get to the super chat first, and then we'll go into the other ones I've been reading.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Power 64 says go back further. She went to court a year ago and was granted permission to sell. She gave him first right of refusal, and he wouldn't make the deal. Interesting.
Yeah, and then some of the other chats were saying that, like, you know, it's kind of weird because she moved the shares to a holding company and then sold the company itself, but not the ownership of the shares, or, you know, that there's other things going in there. There we go. I just want to confirm. So I'll read what they're saying. More shady. She transferred shares to another holding company she solely owned, then she sold. Now, that could be shady. But as someone who has done a lot of corporate law, it's not necessarily shady. It's as long as it's all above board, and as long as people see this out in the open, it could just be for tax liability. There could be things that trigger upon sale from this one company that's not in a holding, or it could be the person she's selling to needs to buy from a certain type of entity, or they get taxed additionally. So this could be shady. But there is also non-shady explanations for it.
Yeah. So anyhow, this case is definitely bringing up more and more interest, I think. So I'm probably going to next. I'll be digging in to get those actual filings so that I can dig into this case a bit more, do a little bit more of a deep dive. But I don't know, Mark. What are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, you know, my thoughts kind of end, you know, I'm on two minds, right? Because most of my experience is in either entertainment and contract entertainment law and family law, right? Which this crosses over both. The contract law side of me says this is interesting. I know all this stuff. I kind of like this sort of in and out. The family law side of me says this is yet another sad externality of being a public figure, you know, and I can't help but think part of the reason that this is in the trades and in the news is because there was a big Depp Heard bump in the news media intake, and a lot, you know, and people are looking for, you know, their new Depp Heard, and who's bigger than Depp and Heard? Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
Brangelina.
Brangelina. And this has been going on for years, you know, so it's kind of interesting that it happens to come up right now, but in the same, so I'm of two minds. It is actually an interesting legal question to me, you know, that's kind of fun. It's kind of interesting, but the family law side of me is just like, oh gosh, just like settle this divorce for the sake of the kids. Just go your separate ways. Just somebody give someone else the winery and just like, go, you guys are fine, you know, but say la vie, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. No, I do agree. And I think that this particular contract piece is interesting because it doesn't, and like I said, I'm piecing together what I can from reading articles about it without having gotten access to the actual filings just yet. But I should probably get those in the next day or two. I still wanted to talk about it.
I know, and Kim Wexler has been active in the chat, and she's right. Kim right now, she's been right with everything she said. But the most recent thing she said is, we're talking about it because the creators are bringing it up. Like this happens. This is in the news because it benefits whoever thinks they're right, and they have the bully pulpit. When you're a celebrity, you can choose to get press when you want to get press.
Yeah.
And so I am not placing the blame on you for being interested in it or us for talking about it. It is, to me, I am interested in it and I am talking about it. So I'm not putting myself like above it, but it does, there is a little pang inside of me that makes me feel guilty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well,
I know.
I mean, to defend myself a little bit, though.
Yeah,
I'm responding.
I wasn't attacking you. I know, but I'm sorry if it came off like I was attacking.
I feel attacked, Mark. No, not at all. No, I mean, because it is interesting, and it's also interesting to viewers that we got a lot of questions on this one. Folks asking if we would talk about it. So I wanted to at least talk a little bit about it before digging further.
I did not want it to come off. I did not want it to come off like this is not a legitimate topic to be discussed. It is no. We should, because people. This is newsworthy. It is, and that is indisputable. Maybe if I just wished we live in a world where it wasn't news relatable, doesn't mean that I'm not delivering that news.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, I'm sorry if that came off as an attack against you, Lita.
No, it didn't. I'm teasing you. I'm 100% teasing you. So I think that probably is about it on that one. We can talk about another case that is a little bit more sad, actually. Well, actually, much more sad. So I don't know how to transition from that to this, but yeah, we're going to talk about Simone Biles and the rest of the 90 women who are suing the FBI. So a lot of folks know about the whole Larry Nassar thing, right? So he's in jail for probably the rest of his life for abusing a ton of young women and girls through the USA Gymnastics program. He was a doctor for the team and used his role in probably the most heinous way that you possibly can. So there was a congressional investigation into the FBI to see what they did and what they knew, what kind of complaints that they received, if they had investigated, and what, if anything, they did of it. And as it turns out, there was the result of those investigations were that they said, I think, I can't remember exactly who it was, but basically the conclusion was the FBI did not do what they were supposed to do. So the Department of Justice then looked into possible, let's see here. Let me add in this here so I can share my screen. So the DOJ decided to look into whether they should criminally charge the FBI officers who were in charge, and they decided not to. So here was the result of that. So this is the federal officials adhere to prior decision related to Nassar investigation. The Justice Department announced today that after careful re-review of evidence gathered in the investigation of 2 former FBI special agents in connection with their involvement in the FBI's investigation of Lawrence G. Nassar, it is adhering to its prior decision not to bring federal criminal charges. This decision comes after multiple reviews and analyses of evidence gathered in the investigation of the former agents and reflects the recommendation of experienced prosecutors. This does not in any way reflect a view that the investigation of Nassar was handled as it should have been, nor in any way reflect approval or disregard of the conduct of the former agents. While the Justice Department's Office of Inspector General has outlined serious concerns about the former agents' conduct during the Nassar investigation, and also described how evidence shows that during interviews in the years after the events in question, both former agents appeared to have provided inaccurate or incomplete information to investigators. The principles of federal prosecution require more to bring a federal criminal case. And welcoming on Sean from Potentially Criminal. How's it going, Sean?
Hey, afternoon, everybody. Hey, Mark.
Okay, so I'll finish reading this right here, last paragraph. We will continue to learn from what occurred in this matter and undertake efforts to keep victims at the center of our work and to ensure that they are heard, respected, and treated fairly throughout the process as they deserve. To that end, the department has continued to assess gaps in the law and to protect the most vulnerable among us from exploitation. Addressing those gaps could help prevent events like this from taking place in the future and hold perpetrators accountable. We stand ready to collaborate with Congress to do so. To which the 90 women said, all right, I'll help you figure out that gap. Here's a $90 billion lawsuit. Or wait, 90 billion? How
1 billion.
1 billion.
billion.
Sorry,
Yeah.
not 90. That's ridiculous.
I got on at the right time.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure whoever typed that with a straight face and thought they were not being ironic when they typed all that up.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So a lot of folks were upset that the DOJ decided not to pursue criminal charges. But I will say that, criminal charges against federal officers, I don't know. It's a pretty high burden to bring those, I would think.
Yeah, it generally, I mean, they don't have any duties to act. I mean, they are law enforcement, but it's not like anybody got sent to like Fairbanks, Alaska out of this. I mean, did anybody really get disciplined? Did anybody really get fired? No, it's the federal government. I mean, they all failed upwards somewhere. I mean, they have a history of that. The FBI has, if they aren't, shooting people's dogs and, doing things like Ruby Ridge, don't Google Ruby Ridge, whatever you guys do.
Now that you said it.
Yes.
No, if you don't know what Ruby Ridge is, you should Google Ruby Ridge.
You should. Yes.
Yeah.
Or like what happened in Waco, or the great Robert Mueller and his involvement in the Whitey Bulger situation in Chicago or Boston. Yeah, they do all kinds of nonsense and nothing really happens. The DOJ had a similar issue like this with Parkland. The FBI always knows about all these bad guys. They're just too busy, orchestrating terror plots in the meantime to go stop these people. I sent it to you, Alita. About a month ago, they actually settled with the Parkland survivors for about $130 million. The DOJ did. I think that's right, and I think that's proper. I mean, because there are, like Castle Rock v. Gonzalez and DeShaney v. Winnebago County, which basically say Lamau, they just have to, they tried real hard. That's all that matters.
DeShaney is one of just I haven't thought about that case for years, and you just mentioning it right now has just I've just been like PTSD just triggered about it. DeShaney is a sad case.
And if you guys don't know about DeShaney, this is back in the 80s. Josh DeShaney lived with his dad, and his dad beat him severely multiple times, including one time where he had to go to the hospital, and then the Children's Services said, hey, we need to monitor you from now on. And they monitored him for a couple of months, and each time they said, yeah, we think child abuse is going on. We're pretty sure child abuse is going on. And then finally, Josh's dad beat him so badly, he was in a coma and then was developmentally disabled after that. And oopsie poopsie, nothing happened. I mean, his mom tried to sue, and Supreme Court said, sorry, doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
so.
That was, it wasn't in the decision, oopsie poopsie, but it kind of was, basically.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Well, in this particular case, what has happened is the 90 women or young women have filed a Federal Tort Claims Act complaint, which is an administrative requirement before you file an actual lawsuit against the federal government. So the FBI has 6 months to respond. My guess is there will likely be some form of settlement offer that is sent from the FBI for this, because the main allegation is that the FBI actually investigated into this and they didn't do anything.
Yes. They didn't even bother telling local police, hey, here's a bunch of evidence you can use to go after this guy. They just went on and did whatever federal agents do for fun.
Yeah. And so this is one of those cases where...
Are you okay, Mark?
It's just, like...
I know I'm a little flippant about it, but that's pretty much what happened.
And I'm not responding to your flippancy. I'm responding to literally the underlying facts that are 100. I'm sure you are correct. And just reconfirmed. My only thing is, I wouldn't necessarily just it's not just the federal government and their sort of law enforcement arm that like frustrates me about it.
Oh so. Yeah. Well, no, I mean that's why. No, I understand. But that's why I forget where I've heard this before. But no one's coming to save you. Expect self-rescue at this point, and that's pretty much sadly it.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Do you think this one will settle, or do you think this one will or 6 months from now, do you think that we'll see an actual complaint filed in federal court?
I bet it's going to get filed. I don't think they're going to settle for as much as they probably should in this situation.
Yeah, I think so.
They being
the feds.
You don't think? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's to the point where I'm pretty sure like USA Gymnastics is bankrupt or is in bankruptcy right now.
Well, which I think. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this whole thing has been crazy how it's played out.
Yeah, this is. I'm interested in the future of U.S. gymnastics for the next decade or so. It's gonna be interesting. I mean,
yeah.
I'm just saying interesting because I don't want to, don't want to load it too much, but.
Well, right. I mean, what kinds of questions are being asked from parents that have their kids that want to go into gymnastics, right? Mm-hmm. That want their kid to go into that pipeline. Their kid has a dream to go to the Olympics in gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
And what like what kind of safeguards are in place to prevent this from ever happening again?
Yeah, and it's for like U.S. Gymnastics. It's a powerhouse. It's so good. It's an amazing program. I mean, I remember, like, you guys are pretty sure my age. Like, I remember watching it like when they were in Atlanta and Carrie Strug does her stuff with a broken ankle.
Yeah.
And did that like entire last stunt or entire last routine one-footed, which was like crazy to watch.
Yeah.
And kids want to be part of that stuff, and there's this other shady side of it.
Yeah, I am extremely thankful that it came out eventually. This person was punished. We are like now on the upswing. But one of the biggest things to me about this lawsuit is how incensed do the plaintiffs are the plaintiffs right now that they are bringing this charge, that like they know, they have X amount of facts. They do not feel like justice has been done. And I think that it is totally correct for them to feel that way. That is totally fine and legitimate. I don't know their situation. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know if they'll ever feel 100% sense of justice, but they're in pain. And this lawsuit reflects that pain. And one of the things that I'm okay with about it is, I think, Sean, you and I probably disagree on a fair amount of things, but we absolutely agree that law enforcement is there to help us. And when they seem to be flagrantly not able to do that or not willing to do that, then they should be held accountable. And we know that the legal system makes it extremely difficult to make them be legally held accountable. So even if this lawsuit doesn't go anywhere legally speaking, I think that it is worth bringing and worth us discussing.
Oh, I entirely agree.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, though, you have to go through the courts, and that's basically asking the government to hold the government accountable, and that's the crappy part.
And let's not, I don't want to tie it too directly because they're not actually legally linked, but that recent Supreme Court case that refused to extend Bivens to in my opinion, very Bivens extendable circumstance is not helpful. Is not helpful to make me feel better about that.
Well, I read that too, and I almost came away with the thinking, like, the Supreme Court's like, oh, you suffered a Bivens action? Yes. Well, is your name Bivens? Oh, well.
Yep.
Yes.
That's basically it. And I don't want to get, I don't want to derail this into something that Sean and I definitely have strong feelings about. But I do want to maintain that kind of, I am thankful that the suit is being brought. I am thankful that I'm sure that USA Gymnastics will not be going worse. It is it will be going upward from here. You know, and
hopefully,
I can't forget that. You know?
Yeah. No, and I think $1 billion is a lot of money. However, one of the things is that for the to do it a Federal Tort Claims Act claim, you have to specify just how much you are requesting in damages, and then if you file a civil lawsuit after the time is up for that, then you're limited by the amount that you alleged in your Tort Claims Act claim. So you can't ask for more after that. So the fact that they've asked for $1 billion is probably super appropriate. I mean, also just the nature of the claims involved as well, and just the amount that it can impact. It may have impacted their performances as gymnasts at the time, you know, in the Olympics, in other competitions and whatnot. That can have a not just emotional, but also monetary impact if there are certain prizes and rewards that are associated with winning. And then on top of that, just the rest of their lives. It's something that they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their lives. It's going to impact all of their relationships, right?
Yeah.
This is the opposite of the Amber Heard situation, right? Like this is the real life abuse that has happened to people that has a real impact on them moving forward. So the $1 billion is like, that's a lot of money. It's a lot. It's a lot. But for 90 women in the ways in which they have been violated, I'm okay with that.
And you know, this is one of those cases, and it comes on a lot that we're confronted directly with the fact that we need legal fictions in our court system for the court systems to operate. We need legal fictions. But one of the legal fictions that we operate on is that money can compensate you for whatever harm you have suffered. And we know that's not true. Right. But quite frankly, there's no way we can't totally get you back up. We can't reverse time. And so we just have to pretend like we can through money. And I think that $1 billion is not inaccurate for how much anyone would be willing to pay or should pay to be able to wind back that clock for those people. You know, so, off my soapbox.
Yeah.
Wasn't a very high soapbox.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on that one. It'll be interesting to see that case develop as well. Any other last thoughts on it before I hit some super chats?
I'm sorry you missed Top Gun, Sean.
Yeah, I
missed the Top Gun discussion.
That was much more fun.
Well, yeah, I did too, but I got to go to court for the first time in a couple of weeks, so that was fun.
Oh, that's good.
Congrats.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had COVID, so it was boring sitting around.
Well, then good. Congrats. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're feeling
better. Yeah. I'm glad you're healthier from.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't that bad. It got the chills. It was like that was the worst part of it.
Yeah, I had it a little while ago, and I aches and chills and constant fatigue. It's not the greatest. I'm glad I'm okay.
I had it last Christmas. And it was, for me, it was way less than that. It was just like I had some symptoms like a few days in, but that was it. Otherwise, I was like, I ended up getting strep throat a week later or a couple weeks later after I flew back overseas again. And that was a million times worse. I would 100% get the COVID that I got again over getting strep throat again.
Well, I think partially the reason that you got strep was because your immune system was fighting off the COVID. I would assume.
Probably.
Yes.
That probably, and then hopping back on a plane, and I probably caught that from somebody on the plane. Yeah, probably.
I'm glad you didn't suffer much. It was I did not have a fun trip, and that was right when I was entering negotiations to sell my game. I literally got notice that somebody wanted to buy my game. A game company wanted to buy it. I had the meeting, and then all of a sudden, I just started coughing and my legs started cramping up.
Oh no.
I thought I was just excited. No, I was not just excited.
Oh no.
Yeah,
all right, well let's get I'll get these super chats now here. Love the panel and all the work you do for us. I know it is a lot harder than it looks to us folks in the chat. You're amazing, Alita. Thanks so much, Fish Sauce. Thank you. Moving forward, says Alita, would you ever go into military law? Is that even a thing? South African who grew up watching NCIS. Well, actually, so I was very, very, very close to going Army JAG for there was a time when I applied. I was accepted. I even had an invitation to do their honors program, and it had come at a time where I was super happy at my current job, and I was like, I can't see myself leaving my current job right now, and then also creating some real restrictions on like the rest of my life and giving up so many decisions that I can make for myself for the next, even though it's only 3 years. By now I could have been out, at this point, but like sometimes I look back on it and I'm like, oh, I should have done it. I should have done JAG. I should have, but I don't know. It's one of those things that you'll, I'll look back on one of these days and be like, maybe I'll still have occasionally felt regrets for that. Maybe not, but, yeah, I don't know. I almost did.
If Moving Forward is South African, then I'm assuming that Moving Forward has seen the military law film Breaker Morant.
Yes.
About the Boers War.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you haven't, anyone who's not, it is fantastic, incredible.
Yes.
And
it's actually sad at the end.
Yeah, I mean the whole movie's sad, but if I see South African military law, I'm sorry, my brain immediately goes to Breaker Morant. So seek it out, guys.
Nice.
Yeah. Hope will always spin it to video games. I'll always spin it to movies. That's just
love it.
how it's.
I love both. I love both. So I'm very happy for both. Fish Sauce says, "I'm in country. The police will beat you up, and you can't do anything about it. Even if you just cross a red light, they'll beat the F out of you. You could not even be doing anything, but they will show up and ask you to pay them bribe. They're a mob." Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Really sorry to hear that. And then he says, "But to end on a positive note about the police situation in my country, my pet fish got caught with acid and blow, but little fish paid himself out of the situation. All right, cool. All right."
Good job. Yeah, I mean that's the plus side of your police allowing bribes, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
Fish. Good for the fish. Anyhow,
correct me if I'm wrong. That currency symbol is rupees.
I think so.
Fish sauce is from India. No, okay.
I think so. So anyhow, well, that for me about does it. The last thing that I will be talking about is very briefly, the fact that tomorrow we have a charity stream right here on this channel. Rick Hogue and I are co-hosting, but we are opening it up to all of LawTube and all of our friends to come in and join us throughout the live stream. It'll be at 10 a.m. East Coast time tomorrow. I'll be putting up more info on all of the social media platforms so folks can see it. But yeah, very, very excited. Very excited. We're gonna have all kinds of conversations. We're gonna go through some more headlines.
Guest host Taylor Lorenz.
Guest host Taylor Lorenz.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like with that latest article, it almost puts you guys like a little closer together than you were before, right? Like both, Taylor's like, "It wasn't me, I swear," and now Washington Post is like, "It wasn't her, we swear, but we won't tell you who it was."
Yeah.
It a little bit, but
I'm not saying you're close.
Yeah. But I will say I still have a major bone to pick about that editor's note. I still do. It's still inaccurate.
Yes.
So it's still there. It's hanging out there.
It's just, man,
seems like they're just not going to change it.
I feel like I want to defend Washington Post because I actually do like them. Like I think they do a lot of good reporting. They do. This is one of the worst I have seen they've ever done. I can't defend this last week. What the hell just happened?
I don't know. But hey, it's gotten me an opportunity to get more exposure, I guess. So there's that. But yeah, it's fun. But so she's not one of the invited guests. However, everyone that has been on the panel so far is going to be invited. So yeah, come join us tomorrow. We'll be hanging out, and yeah,
you guys gonna watch any movies?
Money.
You got Twitch. You can do like through Prime.
Well, no, because I don't want to get copyright struck.
Well, no. I think if they have on Twitch, like if you have Prime, they get to watch it along with you.
That is way to do it. The way to do it, because Twitch is owned by Amazon. What they allow is if you watch
I'm sorry, I didn't know you didn't.
Prime on Twitch.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know you didn't know that.
Yes.
No. Yeah, it's going to be on YouTube. I don't have a Twitch account.
Okay.
But yeah. So anyhow, that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So come join us for that. And if you are so inclined to help support the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. So our goal is going to be 35,000. If that's possible, that would be great. Because that's a percentage. That's a certain percentage of how much was supposed to go to them from a certain former Aquaman starlet or Aquaman starlet. I don't know if she still is or isn't. It's rumored that she isn't, but anyhow.
Yeah, I heard some
Like
things.
she might be. Yeah, seems like she is though, right?
I don't know.
She screen tested.
Oh, did she?
Oh, they did like a screening of it with her in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the rumors were going, because it seems like Aquaman 2, the plot line involves the kid they have. So like it's going to be pretty difficult to like totally excise her from the film. So you know.
They could Back to the Future it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they could.
Meaning
That's
just
true.
replace her with someone else.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
they could,
I mean,
I was just thinking they could do like an Empire. It's like, oh, what happened to Jesse? Oh, he died. What happened? Oh, he died. Don't worry about it.
yeah, well, that was
Yeah,
the
we're sad.
beginning of Hellboy 2, right? It's one of my favorite beginnings ever. It's like, where's that guy from the first movie? Oh, we sent him to Alaska, and then you like never hear from him ever
Yes.
again.
That's awesome. Awesome. So yeah. So join us tomorrow, 10 o'clock East Coast time. And other than that, I've got nothing else. Do you guys have anything else you want to say before we head out?
You got anything, Sean?
No, I just say good luck. I hope you guys crush it tomorrow.
All right. Well, thank you. Okay.
You guys are gonna crush it. I'm gonna plug. I'm gonna do a quick plug.
Yes.
Because for all those people who have been diligently, I see you subscribe to my channel, Attractive Nuisance, even though there's no content. You guys have been so wonderful and patient with me, figuring out, the Texas Bar Study, the parenting, the regular work, and also learning how OBS works and like all of this stuff. But script is done. I am recording the video this weekend. It will come out next weekend. If I don't say it, then it won't happen. So I'm telling all of you, so you hold me accountable. But I'm going to release that video on the lawyer in the Top Gun lawsuit and kind of the history of terminating IP rights and how he became one of the most powerful people in Los Angeles by representing the little guy.
Nice.
I'd like that.
Yeah, that sounds super fascinating. So yeah, like I said before, let me know when you have that done. It's so that I can shout out the link for sure.
So thank you all for your patience. I really, you guys are very kind.
Sounds great. Yeah, of course. All right, looking forward to it. And with that, I guess we'll say that's all for today. See you in the next video, guys.